Thanks, Edgar, and your team at Nat Group. Now, earlier Jess showed us how to buy a house and how to sell a house. Auctions work a little differently to private treaty. Let's find out how auctions work.
So you spent hours researching on the net, studying the weekend papers and visiting countless open homes. And you found the property and it's going to auction. So what happens next? How do auctions work? How do you make sure that you have the edge and win the property over somebody else?
Well, a very good afternoon, buyers, and welcome to the sale of Unit 2 of 2.
I'm heading straight to the local expert for advice.
My name is Carl O'Connor, so I do act as your licensed auctioneer today, and it's a privilege to do so. And on behalf
Carl is a 5-time Australian Auctioneer of the Year competitor, and he sold more than $100 million in real estate on the coast in the past 12 months.
Bedrooms upstairs, of course.
So the auction process, it can kind of scare a few people. What's the difference between an auction and a for sale?
Traditionally with private treaty, a buyer will make their offer, agree on a price, and then they'll go through to get their finance approved, building inspections carried out, etc, etc. They've got a time frame in order to do that. Whereas auctions are a complete opposite. If they want to get a building inspection done, it happens before the auction. If they need evaluation for finance, it happens before the auction, so their finance can be approved, ready to buy.
I'm actually in the market myself, looking for my first home. Auctions freak me out. Is there benefits for the buyers as well as the sellers going to auction?
Absolutely, there's actually benefits for the buyers equally to the sellers. And what you tend to find, Jess, is at least instead of skipping through the paper over the auctions, you should actually stop and have a really close look. And the reason why I say that is because the owners that have invested in a significant marketing budget to go to auction, they are motivated, they have a deadline to meet, they have a definite intention to sell the property. And because cash is king in Australia, a seller would far more prefer to sell on a cash contract, maybe for less money than what a buyer would be prepared to offer. Let's say, for example, a property stops at $350 and the owners are looking to achieve, say, $400,000. We may, through the negotiation process, agree on a price of $385,000.
So there's a chance that the buyer could get a cheaper property by going to auction?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we worked up the courage to actually get ourselves to an auction. What actually happens once we get there?
When you arrive at the property, it's important you arrive a little bit of time prior to the auction, generally somewhere between 30 to 15 minutes prior to, because it is mandatory in Queensland that you register to bid at an auction. It's important that you bring photo identification with you because an auctioneer cannot register you to bid at an auction unless you have your photo identification. And that's for all parties that are going to be on the contract. So if a husband and wife are going to be buying the property, both husband and wife need their driver's licence or photo identification, and both parties need to register. Make sure you have your checks and inspections done, your building and pest inspections done prior to bidding on the day. Make sure that you have an upper limit in mind before arriving at the auction. Ask the agent for a copy of the contract so you can be familiar with the document prior to the auction. Also ask the agent what settlement and deposit will be required, and if you're unable to make the deposit, maybe there can be some flexibility on the deposit, so don't let that detract from your ability to buy the property.
At $410,000.
Be confident with your bids. Make sure the auctioneer can see and hear you during the course of the auction, as you wouldn't want him to miss your bid. Make sure you show your bidding number to the auctioneer.
Signing at $535,000 with you now, sir.
And understand, if you are the highest bidder, you've bought the property and you will be required to sign the contract and pay the deposit.
Well purchased.
So possibly not so scary after all.
No, we got to be there and be positive and have a crack, you know. Don't be afraid to get in the mix and have a bid.
Some great tips there, Jess. We've got more details on the Gold Coast property market coming up in Todd's Bricks and Mortar segment. That's in just 10 minutes.
But now to Ray White Broadbeach and the third of their property portfolios in this morning's show.